Hello, sketchy people. And yes, I do mean that double entendre. Today, we are going to do a fun exercise that helps to open up that creative brain. It wakes up those dormant neurons that are learning to grow and get yourself back into a healthy frame of mind. A lot of people, especially people in middle age and above, feel really intimidated learning a new skill. And sometimes we become far too perfectionist when we're doing it. So today we're going to get rid of that perfectionism and learn to get loose by drawing with our non-dominant hand. So the things that does is, number one, studies have shown that learning something new or doing something differently than you've ever done before actually releases those feel-good chemicals and helps you with memory and starts those neural pathways working to fire up all the different parts of your brain to be able to do some kind of creative skill and to keep your mental faculties as you age. So we're going to do something loose and fun today. It's not meant to be highly skilled. It's not meant to be anything but learning to loosen up and playing around. And it comes at just the right time because I'm broken and my left hand is my dominant hand. So I'm going to be using my right hand, which is uninjured, and we're going to get going on an exercise. Now, I would like you to pause this video, go get yourself a piece of sketchbook paper or your sketchbook, a piece large enough to draw 6 different squares so that you can follow along and enjoy this test with me. I'm going to turn you down toward the paper. I don't have a big giant camera set up where I can have a camera facing me and a camera down on my palette or whatever and another camera somewhere else. I have one camera, and so I will turn it to face down and we'll talk as we go. So let's get started. To begin, you should have a piece of sketchbook paper and a pen. Now, I prefer permanent ink pens so your hand doesn't run across and smear things as you go, or you can use watercolor later, which we won't be doing today. But these little micron pens are very, very low cost pens that you can get at any local pen store. You can get them at a local or nearby art store, or you can order them online for very low prices. I would recommend supporting a local business if you have one. We do. And they do have these, so that's where I get them. Now, the 05 and 08 are the numbers that show you the size of the point on your micron pen. I recommend a thick line, which you get from an 08 pen. It's very, I don't know if you can see, but it's quite thick. It's not a super fine line. That way you can really see what you're doing. And sometimes I use one that is a little finer. Let me turn it toward the light. But for today, so that you can see well, I'm going to use this 08 one with the very thick line. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to draw 6 boxes. Again, we are using our non-dominant hand. I am not used to this. It's going to be messy, but that's the point. The point is to loosen up and be less messy. Now, because I'm using my non-dominant hand, unfortunately my light is on the wrong side and it's casting a shadow. Let me take care of that. Okay, now the shadow is not so bad. So let's get on with drawing a few boxes. I like to start in the center so that I can kind of judge where my other outer boxes are going to be, so I don't end up with 2 big boxes and one baby one on the other end. So if I start at about my center point, and I do have a little measurement thing here, but I'm not trying to be precious with this. I'm just pretending that's the center right there. So I'm going to draw, and see how shaky I am? This is because I'm not used to right-handedness. So I'm going to draw just a little rectangular window right in the middle. And then I'm going to put another one over here. And I'm spacing them out pretty well because that way if I go over the lines, no biggie. Again, this is an exercise in learning to loosen up and not be perfectionist. And then another one here. And then we're going to go down here. And I'm leaving a little space at the bottom of my paper, partly because I might want to jot down a note or two, but mostly just because I can fully space my rectangles out well, or make them a square. Note how I am learning as a teacher of these things. I've been a long-time teacher and a long-time worker in mental health services, and also a long-time artist. That's why I'm so intent on using creativity not only to become an artist, but to help people learn to see things in a different way and be creative in whatever life you have. Now, that's the first little bit to do, so go ahead and finish drawing out your rectangles. So for box 1, we're just going to scribble doodle, again, with the offhand. So if you're right-handed, use your left hand. If you're left-handed, use your right hand. The whole point of this is to be silly and have fun and laugh at yourself when you're done, or go, oh wow, I did that better than I expected. The first box, box number 1, we are simply going to do a doodle. Just a scribble. Just scribble all over that page and get a feel for the holding the pen and all of that stuff. In box 2, we're going to do like a scribble doodle. Think of something in your head. I'm thinking of maybe, let's go with a little dog, a little head of a dog. And I'm going to try to scribble in the little head of a dog. So go ahead and and again, you're not trying to keep your lines nice or anything like that. You're just trying to scribble a little dog or a cow, which is kind of what it looks like, or whatever else you would like to do. So I'm just doodling in a little furry dog. Maybe their legs are in front of them and they're sitting there. Maybe they have a little inside of an ear here. And that is my little scribble. And to me, I think it's kind of funny because it looks like an abstract dog, right? So, or a man dog or something of that nature. But it is kind of funny and I enjoy it. And it actually, to me, looks like something that might be fun to do a little watercolor over if I were using the right kind of paper. Today, I'm using, it's a heavy sketch paper, but it's not meant for waters. It's meant for markers and pens and pencils. Next box, we are going to loosely draw a tree. Again, with your offhand, we're going to loosely draw a tree. You can choose any tree shape you like, anything you want. Try to think of it in shapes. You could make a triangular tree or one that has a lot of ovals on it with a trunk and stuff in between, or whatever kind of tree you want. I think I'm going to go with a triangular sort of tree, like a Christmas tree sort of thing. So, and also, I want you to, I just did, but I want you to not lift your pen from the paper. Do it in one continuous line. So I'm going to create my tree in one continuous line. And see, you can go back over things with your pen and you can create that tree. And since I did sort of a fir tree, I'm going to put a trunk down here. Maybe a little grass out to the side. And then maybe I'll scribble in a tree further back on the horizon line that maybe is more of a fluffy tree back there in the grass. Just playing around here. And I lifted my pen, oopsie, to move to the other tree. But try to do each tree in one continuous line on your paper. This helps you, again, not to get so like where you're going, okay, I'm going to do all these little lines and create this tree and make it look perfect and all of that stuff. So we're going to do all of these lines. No, move in a continuous line so you're not trying to get precious about it. We are not after perfection here. We are after opening that creative brain. Anytime you learn a new skill or do something in a different way, your brain fires up in multiple places. Unlike typing, where your brain doesn't really fire at all because you're not using your motor skills or thinking about what you're doing. So This kind of thing helps you to not only do these kinds of things, but memorize and improve your memory, improve your mood. All those receptors and neurons in your brain are creating new pathways. All right, so let's go to number 4. I want you to grab a mug from your cabinet. Mine is filled with coffee, but if I set it off to the side, it won't be. I'll show you what it is, and then I'll bring you back. Mine is a little owl mug that my mom gave me and that I love because I love owls and because my mom gave it to me. And it's also a large coffee mug, and I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. I hope you have a nice beverage next to you that you're sipping on as well. So what I would like you to do is grab a mug from your cabinet, hit pause if you need to go grab one, but grab any mug of any shape that you like the shape of from your cabinet and set it in front of you at any angle, and we're going to talk about the shapes. Again, I don't have to repeat myself, using your non-dominant hand. I see things in shapes, and I think it's much easier for people when they do see things in shapes. And what I see at the top of my mug is an oval, and I'm going to put a mark on either side of where I want that mug's oval to be, and I'm going to try to draw that oval. And then on the inside of that cup, I see another arch that's only on the side, I'm on the far side of the cup because of where I have it. So I'm going to put in that arch with the coffee, and then I'm going to move down and decide where the bottom of my mug is going to be and just put a little dot there. And then I'm going to put a little dot on the narrow sides of the bottom arch of that mug. In fact, I think that's more like this. And then I'm going to draw that arch from dot to dot. Using the dot method is also kind of a fun way to make sure you're staying in your drawing. I don't do it very often, but it is kind of a fun way, especially when you're using the wrong hand and you're a beginner. Look for Sketching with Scotty. I'm pretty sure he's the one that teaches online that sort of dotting method. I'm not doing it quite the way he does it, but that's okay. Now there's about a 1/2 inch. I've got a handle on this side of my mug that's about a 1/2 inch down. So I'm only going to go about that far down on that side of my mug. And then I'm going to skip a spot and draw the middle of the mug, and then put a tiny little bit on the bottom. So I leave room for my little handle on this mug. And so then I'm going to draw the outside edge of this handle. It's got a nice little arch on it. And it looks like it's got a little, I don't know, a little loopy loop there. I don't think they call it that on the Great Pottery Throwdown, but you know, if you haven't ever seen that show, look for it. It's the most fun thing ever. It's a British show, of course, and it's set up similar to the Great British Baking Show, but it's a throwdown, pottery throwdown. So there I have the handle of my mug. Now, if you want to go on and play around, you could even put whatever design is on your mug, or if there's a shine on one side, you could draw a little bit that shows that there might be a shine reflecting on that side of your mug. Maybe I'll put a little owl or a little semblance of an owl in here. He's sitting on a branch on my mug. There are a bunch of owls on my mug, but they're all just having a good time, sitting on branches. I'm going to give them big owly eyes. Boop, boop. Big owly eyes here. I put his way up high. His owly eyes should be down here, not up there. But anyway, just do your best to see those in shape. See, you've got an ellipse here, like a squashed circle. You've got like an oval, half of an oval or 3/4 of an oval on this side, like a big letter O without the inside of the O on my mug. And then you've got and kind of an inverted rectangle here. So you can see that all of these are built off of just seeing things differently, seeing things in shapes rather than, oh, I must draw this mug, and therefore I'm just going to say mug in my brain and draw something that doesn't look like the thing you're drawing, because you need to see things in a different way and see that shape. All right, let's get on to number 5. Okay, for number 5, I invite you to do a continuous line drawing of my glasses as you may see them on the screen. And we're going to try to do a little drawing of them at this angle. If you prefer to use your own glasses or another object, feel free. I'm just placing this in your presence so you don't have to go look at something. And we're going to try to do this. Now, as you see, these are not quite rectangular. They have curves at the outside edges. So I'm going to look at the top curve, which just looks like a little dip in here. So I'm going to start down here. I slanted them so I can slant them on my paper. And I'm going to try to create that dip. And then on the outside edge, it looks like it goes down and in a little bit on both sides. Little horn rim going on. And then I'm going to hit the middle up top and put that little arch. Notice I'm just looking at one line or shape at a time. And then we are going to use that lower arch and come down here and connect. Use that arch on this side, come down here and connect. And now we have the outside rim of the glasses. Then we'll come back in here and note that this line comes in here, and we'll just draw a circle that kind of matches what's on the outside, but trying to make it thin on the sides it's thin. Again, we're just playing here, so try not to kick yourself, you perfectionists out there, and I know you're out there, if you can't get it to look great. It's still going to look like what the object is. Now, I've got the basic front going on. If you want, you can add more details like the little scalloped edges, but for now, we're going to look inside these glasses. Now, I see on either side that there's a little protrusion of my glasses folded up. There and here. You might hear my cat in the background making noises. He's napping and he's turning in his nap. And then, so we're going to put those protrusions there, but then this one I see overlaps the other one inside those glasses. So we are going to connect that here and just move that line up how we see it. Again, does not need to be perfect. In fact, I've made it so it goes up above the glasses and it goes through from my angle. And then I'm going to put that over as it connects on this side. And I can put little detail dots in it to cover for my mistakes. They're not quite lined up here, but that's okay. And then I'm going to start on this side. And this one comes up here and goes behind and a little over the top of that shape before it meets that side. So now we have the entire glasses shape, so you can start to add fun little details like those little stripes at the edge of my horn rims. And it's hard to use your right hand this way sometimes, or your non-dominant hand. But there's even like little words in here, like made in China, a little number over here that talks about the lens. And you can even kind of scribble in a little shadow, if you choose, you don't have to show that it's sitting on a surface, and that's the shadow of the glasses. But again, you don't have to do that. That just might make it messy. I also see a little bit of the nose guard on these parts of the glasses. So that's a little exercise that you can do just to try to see shapes and lines and curves instead of those are glasses. Again, we're learning to see things in a different way. Now for this exercise, I'm going to use something that I printed out, though it's kind of big. So I will pop the picture, the actual picture, up here in the corner of this little building. I wanted to do a very simple little building with very simple shapes. And I wanted to show you, using a different colored marker, what we're talking about when I say you can see an object in shapes. So let's look at the biggest shape first, and that is this rectangle. See that? Oh, well, it goes down a little further, that door does. That's just a rectangle. And then the door is simply another rectangle. It just has a slight bend at the top. But that's another rectangle right there. And then inside is just the same shape of rectangle. I'm using my left hand to show you this part because, you know, I want to show you. So all we've done so far is create rectangles. And then in this, you've got a split down the middle, just a line. Let me switch colors. We'll go with metallic purple. How's that? Inside, the bottom two are simple rectangles. They don't have any difference in them. They're just simple little rectangles. So all we've done so far is make shapes. Tiny little arch at the top of that rectangle, following the same arch as the top of the door. And now we have essentially the front of the building, and it's all rectangles. That's all it is. And we're not worried about all the little extras that come up here. Now, on top of that, we see another little balcony rectangle with a rail. So there's a very long rectangle up here with a little slant at the end. Boom. 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 Tiny little dot here, and then another rectangle at the bottom. Boom. And then for this, once again, make your bottom line wiggle since it's showing roof tiles. And then again, you've got a rectangle shape to make those, and all you have to do is put your wiggly little lines in here to create those. You can even do little circles in here in the middle, or teardrops, and then join them with a line. So that's what we're going to do first. We're not going to bother today with the perspective, the sides of the building. We're just looking at this piece. So I'm going to move this to the side, but I'm going to pop the photo of this up for you in the video itself. As we said, we start with the larger rectangle, but I want to leave room up here for the balcony. So I'm going to start about a quarter of the way down my little thing. And I'm going to just put little dots up here and little dots down here. Whoops. That's why I like Scotty's dot method. I'll put a link to his dot method page. And I'm just going to draw that rectangle that signifies the front of that building. And I've noticed as we've gone on with using the non-dominant hand, I'm getting a little bit better at bracing my hand and drawing these. Sometimes it's easier if you put your palm down on a surface and then pull the pen across or push it across to make those shapes you want. So there's our outside of the building. Now we have a little door that starts about here in the middle and goes down almost to the bottom of the building. So we're going to put that door right in here, and it feels like a tiny drawing, but it's just rectangles, remember. So we're going to come up to this, make our little rectangle. See all the wiggly lines? That's okay. And then we're going to make that little arch at the top. There's a little square in the middle if you want to put it there. Make that little arch there and go down, trying to stay close to the outside of the door. And there we have your door frame. Now we have 3 little rectangles inside here. And the way I like to do it again is to start with the one in the middle. So we're going to draw these 2. Oh, and let's put a little line right down the middle of the door to signify where the door opens. So I'm going to put these 2 middle rectangles in first so that I have the room to put the little rectangles below. And these up here, again, you just use the top to follow the archway, and the rest is still that simple shape. And there we have it. A little door frame inside of a building. And now we can make some squiggles to signify the roof line. We can make a few more squiggles just to kind of show that that's a roof. And then we can start building the stuff on the top. Now for this, I like to put the big shapes in first on the sides. So we've got a small rectangle with a bigger one, and then kind of a crooked rhombusy top, like that. And then on this side we have similar patterns. There's another little one in there, but it's not necessary. On the other side we have similar patterns, so we can just make it simple and try to repeat what we did on the other side. And this one also is kind of similar in its little crooked rectangle shape. And then we can draw a bottom line for the bottom of that little rail, and then a top for the top of that little rail. And as I said before, you can draw little teardrops or dots inside to make the decorations. It's so small that all you need is these little dots to signify, and then you can draw right down through. Boom, 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 boom. And there you go. So this is very simple. If you wanted to go on and try to get those side perspectives in by drawing a rectangle that's going away from you, so down slant that way, up slant that way. We'll talk about line of sight in a later lesson. This today is just learning to see things differently and doing something that you're not used to so that you can get out of your head and get loose. That is a fun little exercise to do, and let me bring you back to me. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little exercise in using the wrong hand to get yourself loose and stop thinking about perfection. I appreciate your being here. I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoy it, and it was kind of a meditative practice, and I hope you're learning to see things in a different way already. Our next video is going to be, I'm going to be showing you how I've created my little mini studio. My husband and I are fixing up the house so we can sell it and move to France, which is my lifelong dream. In the next video, I'll show you the little studio setup I've created so I can keep doing art videos while we are cleaning out, repainting, repairing all the walls in my former studio. I'll show you all of that in the next video. Comment below if you enjoyed this exercise or if you didn't, or if there's something else you'd love to see or learn. If there are any questions you have that we can talk about this changing your mind to be able to get creative, and hit that like button, thumbs up button if you haven't. It really will help me build myself back up in the algorithm. Also hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. And just remember, you can learn to sketch your own life. Bye.